Hi everyone, welcome to the Crypto Wealth Cafe with Dacxi, powering crypto wealth building for serious investors. So my name is Andy. Yes, what is the Crypto Wealth Cafe? Well, it is a new weekly show brought to you by Dacxi, and we're really just going to take a look at the wider crypto markets and see what the most interesting data narratives, data points, what is going on in the markets, just to bring you up to date and up to speed. So, as I say, the Crypto Wealth Cafe is brought to you by Dacxi. If you're watching this, chances are you probably already know all about Dacxi, but if you don't, all you need to do is really go here to Dacxi.com and find out all about the wonderful ways you can get involved in building your crypto wealth. All right, I said we would take a little look at the crypto markets, so I reckon we should do that. We'll start off here, coindeco.com, just to have a quick look at the market. So you can see Bitcoin at the moment, back up to 48,000. So this is a little jump up. Yesterday we got down to 46, and it was looking, a little bit doom and gloom for a little while there. But it's nice to see a little recovery bounce today. So you can see Ethereum just around 3,800. So okay, if we look over here at Trading View, and so here's the Bitcoin chart on a Bitstamp, and so you can see this is kind of the story of the year. We had this crazy run up towards the end of last year, and then this is when we got up to here, about $66,000. And then Elon Musk, of all people, tanked the market for a little while through the course of the middle of the year. Then we got a new all-time high, basically got up to around $69,000 UK. But it has fallen off, unfortunately, since then. And we had that kind of steep crash, wicked right down to 42k a couple of weeks ago, and now we're just kind of staging a mini recovery as we close out the year. We're 2 weeks away from Christmas. We're closing out Q4, and we're sort of in between. Bitcoin is still really just a touch under $50,000 US, so that's not bad, and we may just be taking a little bit of a breather. We'll have some consolidation here, and we'll look and see if the bull market can continue into 2022. However, it's not to say that crypto being crypto, it is volatile, and that's okay. If you want to get those good long-term gains that crypto can offer, almost ahead of any other asset class, really, you do have to understand that there will be volatility along the way, and that will translate into the market often as we see now on the Fear and Greed Index, extreme fear. So that's just a sentiment check. It just means investors are feeling slightly worried at the moment, and that's natural. It's just human emotion. As the price goes down, we do feel slightly worried. But oftentimes, when the Fear and Greed Index is showing extreme fear, that can often turn out to be a smart time to top up your position or enter the market, or just increase your position, whatever you're doing. Now, Raoul Pal, who is what I like to do with this show, I think, is just kind of go through some of the talking points from some of the thought leaders in the wider crypto industry, and a lot of them spend their time on Twitter delivering their insights and wisdom, and sometimes that's just a really good way to stay on top of what's happening in the market. Keep a pulse check, if you like. So Raoul Pal, who's leading crypto hedge fund thought leader guy, he says that, yes, wow, everyone has gotten super bearish on digital assets. And he says, I do think that the crimped excess disposable income due to inflation is partially to blame. The marginal retail buyer is more marginal, which is quite right at the moment. So Raoul goes on to say that his view is that the game has not changed. Many are scarred by past cycles. This is true. When this point in the halving cycle, has it produced the top? Not sure, but past damages to your psyche can also cause you to be excessively cautious. I think that's quite true as well. But Raoul says we haven't yet seen any kind of blow off top with any kind of record participation. There hasn't been that FOMO rally. So Raoul says funds will be allocating fresh capital in Q1 of next year, and if that drives prices higher, then we'll see new entries from retail traders, and long-term holders may begin to take some profits as well. So I guess he's putting it in perspective. He's saying, nothing much has really happened since that first top back in May, except that institutional adoption continues. And of course, as all of these different blockchains start to mature, those use cases are actually getting real world adoption. So I guess Raoul is just saying, sit tight, add on dips, and just make sure you're well positioned. Don't follow the pump. Keep yourself diversified, and really it's just about zooming out and having that confidence in the market for the long term, because the long term trend is always up and to the right, but as we say, you got to expect volatility along the way. But don't get stressed out by shorter term moves if you are playing the long game. All right, let's keep it moving. What else is happening? So another reason why this dip is not quite as scary or as savage as that fall back in May is there's new multi-year Bitcoin reserve lows on different exchanges around the world. So if we just zoom in here, the black line here is the Bitcoin price chart, and the blue line is the amount of Bitcoins that are being held on exchanges by traders and holders in preparation to liquidate or sell, really. So you can see back when we had the all-time high in May, and then the crash following Elon's comments, that really rose. Everyone started sending their coins to the exchange to sell, but that's not the case at the moment. It's actually the lowest it's been for years and years and years. So I guess what that tells us is, long-term holders aren't necessarily in a rush to sell their coins here. And in fact, this is a chart from Willie Woo, who's one of the big on-chain analyst guys. He's a New Zealander, actually. But he says the last time the retail investors bought the dip this hard was back all the way back at the bottom of the COVID crash in, I think it was March 2020. So if you can zoom in here, so this is a chart of retail accumulation. So you can see there's a big spike when that price really did crash. That was a smart time to buy when the COVID news really impacted all the markets back in early 2020. But look at this. Yeah, the same retail buyers, bang, they're accumulating again on this dip. Here's another heat map of the same thing. So, I mean, these things, they're never perfect, but it's just interesting data science, and I always like a nice visualization of what is happening in the market. So you can see the red heat circles are sells, and the blue circles are buys. So you can see at the moment, there's smaller buys, but there is buys happening. So, people are buying the dip. I'll tell you who else is buying the dip. Well, Michael Saylor, obviously, but also, I thought this is interesting. The Purpose Bitcoin ETF, which is one of the spot ETFs in Canada, I think. So they bought 4,300 Bitcoin so far in December. Not bad. Pretty good entry for them. At the same time, just I think it was Monday this week, a few days ago, we clocked over 90% of all Bitcoins have now been mined. It's quite amazing. So that means, there's 18.89 million Bitcoins, of course, of a maximum of 21 million, are now circulating out in the open market. I mean, of course, not nowhere near that amount is actually circulating in the open market. Some are lost, a lot are just in cold storage, a lot are being held. The actual float available for trade is much, much smaller. But I think the key point here is there's only 10% of the total Bitcoin supply are yet to be mined, yet to be distributed. And of course, as the halving cycles kick in, that's going to be spread out over, the next few decades. So the supply is always dropping. And as demand increases, what happens? Number goes up. Of course, also, and at the same time, Bitcoin hash rate hit a new all-time high this week. So, this is just another indicator of the strength of the network and the interest in the network from, serious players around in the world. And of course, what's interesting about this is, again, so the black line is the Bitcoin price and the gold line here is the hash rate. So if you remember back, actually was soon after, around the same time that Elon, God bless him, crashed the market. Of course, we had the news out of China as well immediately afterwards. So those were quite negative sentiment events on Bitcoin market structure, which is why we saw that price drop. And at the same time, of course, China effectively put a ban on mining Bitcoin in China, and they told all the local China miners to get out of the country. It probably wasn't a smart long-term strategic move for China, but it actually is going to turn out to be a very, very healthy event for the long-term decentralization status of the Bitcoin network. So anyway, you can see that the hash rate just dropped off significantly as all those Chinese miners were forced to turn off their machines. But, they've been redeployed really quickly. And, all around the world. A lot is actually in America and some, various other countries around the world. But you can see it's just all-time high again. So it just shows there is confidence in the network. When the hash rate is at an all-time high, that typically is a good signal. All right, what else? Let's go back to Twitter. This is a tweet by Su Zhu, who is, if you don't know who Su is, he's one of the founders of 3 Arrow Capital, which are one of the biggest hedge fund trading outfits. I guess they do market making, they do all sorts of things across the wider crypto markets. But I thought this is quite a good point when he said it's quite amusing how many crypto natives have written off Bitcoin as a boomer coin at the same time as politicians have begun taking their salaries and retirements in Bitcoin. I think this is such a good point. What he's referring to is, there's been a switch in the narrative almost this year. You're starting to get in the US and around the world, but particularly in the US, there's a number of politicians, leading politicians on both sides of the aisle. It's quite bipartisan, which I think is fascinating as well. But there's some leading politicians that are becoming real voices and advocates for crypto and for Bitcoin, to the extent that some of them are taking some of their salary in Bitcoin. So the mayor of Miami is doing this. The mayor of New York is doing this. You've got Ted Cruz, of all people, over in Texas, has turned into an extremely intelligent and articulate advocate for Bitcoin mining in the state of Texas, and also talking about making the case that the US should put Bitcoin on the Treasury Reserve. Doesn't matter if this stuff doesn't happen soon, but it's just the narrative is shifting as Bitcoin becomes more and more accepted. Dan Held says, "This blows my mind." So this is a stat from a recent Grayscale report. Yeah, I was surprised. Did you know that 1 in 4 Americans with over $10,000 in investable assets, they already own Bitcoin? So of course, what percentage of Americans are actually investors? It's probably smaller than you think, but interesting that a quarter of them already own Bitcoin. So again, it's just, Bitcoin this year has not so much gone mainstream, but it kind of has gone mainstream in that it has become a legitimate investment. It is a real asset class, and yeah, if you haven't got a position, it's time to think about it. Again, this speaks to the same thing, right? So this was just an anonymous poll of senior staffers on Capitol Hill in the US and what they think will be top priorities for Congress in 2022. And crypto regulation makes the list for the first time. So it's not up the top, obviously. Up the top is supply chain issues and immigration, climate, technology regulation, big tech, all those kind of big hot button issues. Crypto regulation is only 5%, so it's down the bottom. But again, it just shows, it's on the board for the first time. And, we say this is a good thing. Regulation is coming, like it or not. The key is, we want that good regulation that kind of keeps the balance of innovation right, while also protecting investors and all that good stuff. All right. Here we go. This is a report from Bloomberg that came out a couple of days ago. It's called, obviously, Global Cryptocurrencies 2022 Outlook. Now, if you're interested, anyone can obviously go and download this report. So just Google the title there and you'll find the download, because I'm not going to go through all of it right now. But there is some good stuff in it. I'll just see if I can pull out one or two points. So they talk at the beginning about what the Federal Reserve is likely to do, and how that could be a bit of a win-win for Bitcoin in 2022. Bitcoin may face initial headwinds if the stock market drops, but crypto may come out a primary beneficiary as those declining equity prices pressure the yields on bond, and of course they incentivize more liquidity or money printing from the central bank, which has been one of the key themes of this year. Okay, let's just here. Do cryptos have an advantage versus the stock market? So they say here, compared with equities, the crypto market may have a relative advantage in 2022, and this is a key point. Cryptos are risk assets, but the primaries are Bitcoin and Ethereum, the kind of key top two blue chip assets really. They may be transitioning towards stores of value, says Bloomberg. So they then say, of course, past performance is no indicator of future results, but when a new asset class outperforms, naysayers have little choice but to join in, and we see this process as continuing in 2022, and money managers may in fact face greater risk if they don't have any portfolio applications to cryptos. So again, it's just this narrative that now that crypto is a legitimate asset class, how long do you sit on the sidelines? If you're a portfolio manager, you run the risk of losing out on those exponential gains, and then all your investors are like, come on, man, what are you doing? You're not doing your job. So I think that's a really key point. And again, the price you pay is such outsized performance typically comes with volatility. So yeah, if you want those outsized gains, you got to be prepared to weather the storm as well. All right. Here's the good stuff. We'll finish off with this from this report. Is Bitcoin on a path to 100K US in 2022? Well, according to Bloomberg, Bitcoin appears to be on a trajectory for 100 grand. We see it as more of a question of time, notably due to the economic basics of increasing demand versus decreasing supply. And there are ample examples of Bitcoin simply staying on course in 2022 as it continues its process of adoption into the mainstream. So, you can expect to see more ETFs, more funds. You've got countries like El Salvador going big into Bitcoin, and just more and more investors all around the world slowly taking their position. So there you go. And of course, yeah. Oh, this is good as well. So they talk about, Bitcoin versus gold. Still a lot of room for Bitcoin to outperform gold as Bitcoin continues to perform that role as digital gold. All right. I guess the other big narrative at the moment, certainly been the case in recent months and will continue in the meantime, is inflation, right? So inflation it's a problem all around the world because as central banks inject new liquidity, fresh money into the system to, effectively prop up markets, really is what they're doing. And they've had to, of course, because of the pandemic. But, that has translated into rising prices. So you can see the CPI rate, we've seen it been going up month on month, year on year, but it's the blue line there, and kind of durable goods prices. That is that is going to hit you in the wallet. And of course, who does it hit? It hits the people that don't have assets, right? Because at least if you've got money in property, your property prices are going up. Same with equities. Equities are going up. Crypto as well. Crypto is going up. But if you don't have any investments or you've only got money in the bank, then your purchasing power is dropping. Now, Michael Saylor of MicroStrategy is all too aware of this. He just posted this clip of Tucker Carlson. So Tucker Carlson, funnily enough, has had Michael Saylor on his show on Fox a few times. Tucker, love him or hate him, he's a controversial guy. Not talking about his politics, but been fascinating to see people like Tucker fall down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, and to the extent that he's effectively talking about Bitcoin on Fox. And so again, just as the same way you've got the mayors of New York and Miami openly embracing Bitcoin, Ted Cruz openly embracing Bitcoin, Tucker Carlson openly embracing Bitcoin. So he talks about Bitcoin at the very beginning. I'll just play this and see what he says, but he's really talking about Bitcoin in the context of inflation.
Why do you think young people love Bitcoin? Ever wondered? Well, it's because they know they're excluded from the country's traditional systems of wealth creation. America's economy is closed to them. The ladder has been pulled up and they know it. Our elderly political class should care about this. They don't care at all. Here's 68-year-old Paul Krugman explaining on Twitter that growing inflation is not a big deal. Quote, is there any good reason to believe that inflation hits low-income households especially hard, end quote. Well, yes, Paul, there are, in fact, quite a few good reasons to think that. Like, look around, Dumbo. But he hasn't and he won't. Keep in mind, this man once won the Nobel Prize for economics.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. But you get the idea. Just incredible to see mainstream political and TV talking heads talk about Bitcoin. All right, as we start to finish off, let's have some fun. Yeah, I mean, Gwyneth Paltrow even announced today that she's investing in a green Bitcoin mining outfit called TerraWolf. Gwyneth Paltrow, obviously, well, smart, huh? She's getting into green Bitcoin mining. It's a good move. What else? Can't do this inaugural show of the Crypto Wealth Cafe without a tweet from Elon Musk. He says today that Tesla is going to make some of the Tesla merch available for purchase with Dogecoin. Go Elon. Of course, Doge had a little pump after this. I don't see that as sustainable. But yeah, that's good, I suppose. I think what everyone would like to see is Elon reinstate Bitcoin payments for Tesla, which he said he would do once, I think 50% of Bitcoin mining was shown to be renewable. I think we're pretty much there. But there you go. Good on you, Elon. And finally, it's just a kind of a meme. Bitcoin bears were out in force this week, but really the only bears we want to see this Christmas are these guys. These are the party bears. It's just an NFT project, but I just thought that was a bit of fun. We don't need to see the crypto bears. We want to see the party bears, and then the return of the crypto bull. All right, guys. That was the first episode of the Crypto Wealth Cafe, brought to you by Dacxi, where you can buy, store, trade, learn, build, do everything you need to know with your crypto assets. So if you want to do that, hey, just come to Dacxi.com. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next week. We'll be back again. And until then, keep it crypto. See ya.